Roll call. Matthew Hertz. AJ Haney. Anna Saba. KJ Garner. Carrie Rogers. Courtney Ross. And John Norris. All right. And did everyone receive the minutes from last month's meeting? Those were sent on in Brent's packet last week. Thanks, Brent. Any edits or comments on the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And then the agenda tonight, we've had one request to move up our voting items if we're able to. I know Matthew has to leave a little bit early tonight, so if that's okay with everybody, we can go ahead and move those up to the beginning. Any other edits on the agenda? All right, so first up on our voting items, we'll go through this quickly and then we'll have time for public comment right after this. First up is our Walk Month proclamation brought by Commissioners Garner and Haney.
So I do not have a statement formulated, and AJ and I will still be working on that and, push it, unfortunately, back to the November meeting to retroactively celebrate Walk Month for October.
All right, thank you. All right, we have two more statements that we discussed during subcommittee just now. The first one is a statement on the make eye contact signs with the recommendation to remove all existing signs and to cease the use of these signs going forward. Any discussion on that?
I have a quick question. Do we know who installed those to begin with?
I believe it was NDOT, but I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
Any further discussion or questions?
Could you state exactly what we're recommending?
Sure.
Maybe just for the.
All right, so I sent the statement out to everyone, but in essence, there have been multiple signs installed at intersections instructing pedestrians to make eye contact, which, as we discussed at our last meeting, is oftentimes impossible, puts the onus on pedestrians to do something that is not a legal requirement, and is oftentimes not effective even when it is possible. The concern is that it normalizes victim blaming by suggesting that pedestrians are responsible for their own deaths, which is antithetical to our modal hierarchy and to the goals of Vision Zero. There have been studies that have shown that focusing on pedestrian behavior actually distract and detract from efforts to promote Vision Zero through systematic improvements that actually do keep vulnerable road users safe. And so what we are recommending, we're requesting that NDOT provide a report at the next meeting on November 17th that includes a list of all locations of these signs, a timeline for their removal, and for each location that currently contains a make eye contact sign, for NDOT to identify at least one evidence-based infrastructure change that can be implemented instead that will actually improve safety.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we give that advice to NDOT and ask for that report. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is passed. And then the second statement that we just discussed during subcommittee meetings was a statement regarding recommendations for the pedestrian crossing treatments on 3rd Avenue North. This has also been sent to the commission members for their review. So we had a discussion at our meeting last month regarding kind of the interim safety measures that have been implemented at this crossing on 3rd Avenue North, which have included the rapid flashing beacons as well as stop signs that we were informed were kind of a temporary measure until a PHB could be installed at the end of this year. I and other commission members have concerns about the indication for a PHB at this location. as PHPs are typically used on streets with much higher traffic volumes and higher traffic speeds. This does not seem to meet any MUTCD or NDOT guidance to be used at this location. I did ask a number of questions after the meeting. I've not gotten a response from NDOT on those questions. But at this point, given that the PHP does not seem to be indicated, I also have concerns that were shared by other commission members at the subcommittee meeting that the PHB puts the onus on pedestrians to request permission to cross. It introduces a lot of excessive delay for pedestrians trying to cross at this location. Would have to be coordinated with the adjacent traffic signal on 3rd and Van Buren as well, introducing further delay. It does not seem to be the appropriate treatment at this location. Also requires a lot of funding that could be used to put a PHB somewhere where it is indicated on our high injury network. So given this, we are requesting that NDOT study the effectiveness of the existing stop signs and the rate of driver compliance and stopping for pedestrians with the stop signs in place, to consider installation of vertical traffic calming elements along with the stop signs, including speed cushions or a raised crosswalk, and to defer installation of a PHB at this location and instead use those funds to identify a more appropriate location on our high injury network. Questions or discussion?
I move we adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion has been passed. All right, thank you guys. That was all of our voting items for tonight. Thanks for sticking around, Matt. Appreciate it. And we can move on to public comment. We have 2 speakers signed up for tonight. I know Mary Beth Snodgrass needed to leave a little bit early, so if you want to go first, you're welcome to.
Actually, I have time. If I could go second.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or have my
Great.
together.
All right, Mandan Hall is up first.
Can I use this one?
I think it works.
Hey, guys. Hey, how's it going? Today on the agenda, there's discussion about Connect Downtown and the bus lane on 4th. On Friday, seems like part of the testing was to allow vehicles in it through a long period of time, which kind of made it ineffective. So really helpful that we can make sure we utilize the data from periods when it was, fully a bus lane and not mixed traffic. I believe, maybe they were testing an alternative. Really hopeful that we can use this pilot as, use the data from this pilot to implement, a temporary bus lane until Connect Downtown can be implemented on 8th. This is one of the items included in the first 2 years, and we're almost there. I know, in my experience, it can reduce, 30 plus minutes of getting through downtown from that time period. Also know it would be really effective for those commuting out of downtown from the hours, from 3:30 to 7. The gridlock can take a really long time just getting, if you're trying to take the 55, getting out of downtown, or trying to take the 52 to get home. I know so many commuters that their commute home takes a lot longer than their commute into work because of that. And just really hopeful for these other items in Connect Downtown to be fast-tracked when it comes to, bicycle infrastructure on 3rd Avenue. Going south, I was recently run off the road and on a bike and greatly injured. There was a bikeway proposed there over 5-6 years ago that has been postponed. Really hoping that we can get those improvements so I can and others can safely bike through Nashville, and that we implement connections instead of implementing them and then getting rid of them. Thanks.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
I do have all of pictures that I took today. I'm Mary Beth Snodgrass. I live at 4705 Nevada Avenue in Foley Park. I'm sorry, can you spell your name? Snodgrass. And I am here to bring awareness about my general concern about the Board of Zoning appeals being able to grant a fence setback variance without any NDOT input on arterial boulevards where there are bike lanes. There is, what I just handed out was materials on an upcoming appeal request that will be coming up in November. Basically, a lawyer is trying to argue that this fence setback, which is 6 feet further than it is supposed to be based on rule which is put into place to protect motorist vision. They are appealing to have the fence granted. It has already been built, and I had a similar issue where I live on 46th Avenue in Nevada. It's the road kind of takes a turn, and you have to pull into the bike lane. Cars pull into the bike lane to be able to see to turn. And so the pictures that I just handed out to you guys, that was in a span of 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 4 cars just parked in the bike lane. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were on the. And so, based on my experience, when I showed up to speak against them granting it on this block that I turn out of every single day in my neighborhood, I was told, well, you could drive a block down. Well, you should go to traffic and parking and ask them to put a 4-way stop in. And the variance is granted because the people said, oh, my safety, there's homeless people in Richland Park and I don't feel safe. I need to have this fence that's further out. And it's really hard for them to deny a fence appeal because usually people have already built the fence. I mean, it's $10,000 or something. So I was kind of surprised and a little frustrated that I have no recourse once it's approved by this group, this board that is pretty much all real estate lawyers and developers, no one who has any expertise in traffic or site management or safety. Once it's once it's granted, it is with that property forever. I don't think NDOT or anyone can come in and say, this is a hazard. We think this is a hazard. So this upcoming variance appeal, it is on 12 South where is the curved bike lanes. We just spent so much money investing in those bike lanes, and it just does not seem right that someone can come in and have this variance approved. See, the thing is, it's going to be hard because it's a preschool. It's a preschool, and they built this fence further out to be able to have, more room for the kids to play, which is so hard because we have such a lack of preschools. But as you can see, and if you go by yourself, you can see it, you cannot, it's gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna make that bike lane unusable. There's just gonna be cars just basically parked in it. Let me see if I had anything else that I really wanted to note.
Chair, could I I appreciate all your comments to our BPAC. I'd be happy to look into the variance on this tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Give you my card. Because
I would, because when they make the decision, they don't even have to go to the intersection.
We don't oversee the BZA process at the planning department, but I want to find out what they did and how it impacted the right of way and how it impacted our bikeway over there.
And they only looked at pictures.
Yeah.
They only looked at pictures, and from pictures, you can't tell. You could really only know if you go in a
I'll
car.
leave you my card, and
Yes, please.
I want your number. I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, because I don't think there's anything I can do about now my dangerous
Unless
intersection, but it would be
you all-
really bad if it gets approved.
So
in
has
permits.
BZAC already approved it? Has it been
They've
heard?
approved the one on 46 where I am. That is how I know I wouldn't just trust that they will do
it's subjective what they think is in a public welfare or not.
Yeah.
I think November 20th is when this one is coming up. And
Have you spoken to Councilman Cash?
I have not, because I noticed it came on the calendar very quickly, and I noticed that, I noticed it, I was able to go to the intersection myself last night, and that's when I realized, ooh, this is bad, and it does not even look this bad in pictures. And so I noticed this meeting was tonight, and the next
Okay.
one was 3 days
We don't
before
have
the
any authority.
hearing.
We don't have authority over that, but I'm going to check and see, did we approve, have we recommended approval of this variance? Were we a part of it? NDOT staff.
Okay, and I think
And then I'll get
they're
back-
allowed to
and then
reach
I'll-
out to NDOT,
and then I'll get
but they don't
back to
have
you.
to.
Yeah, I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Do we have a representative from Planning Commission here? Planning Department?
I'm here with PCA's code.
Okay, it's codes, not planning. Okay.
And so it's kind of weird that something that impacts motorist site goes to codes and they're not required to consult NDOT. They're allowed to consult NDOT, but they're not required. And especially on arterial boulevards with these bike lanes.
I'm committing to you. I'm going to check tomorrow.
Thank you so much. I forgot what you wanted me to write.
I'll call
And-
you tomorrow, and we'll find out.
I numbered, that's right.
And have you say you have not contacted Councilman Cash?
I have not.
Why don't you?
I will do that. That will be on my list. This was first off.
Sure, I understand. Email him and CC all of us.
How
and-
do I CC all of you? Is it,
You can
As
send
an
it to
email.
me and I'll send it to them.
okay.
That's fine, sure.
I
And,
just did not know where to start, but I knew that
Sure.
you guys care about bike lanes and people.
okay,
And
and also CC Diana Alarcon, so that she sees it.
CC who?
Diana Alarcon, his boss,
Oh,
the
okay.
director of NDOT, so that she becomes aware of it.
I'm going to be with her in a meeting tomorrow. I'll let her know.
Yeah.
All right.
CC her on the email.
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there another possible solution other than moving the fence?
They wouldn't have to move all the fence. They would just have to move the newest part that they put up. And I looked on the crash reports, and there was a vehicular crash there October 4th at that intersection. But if no one shows up to point these out, they hired a very hotshot lawyer to go argue for them, and most fence variance approvals, they're approved on consent. And so if this is not brought up to someone's attention, I hope to show up. I don't know what my availability is, but it can be passed and permanently be blocking vision for that bike lane that we spent millions of dollars on. And so kind of just also a general kind of concern, and what I would think makes sense is for a fence variance approval. I think that on an arterial boulevard with a bike lane, I think that NDOT should be and have to be involved. And now it's up to them to request such information.
Okay, I still wanted to ask, is there another solution other than moving the fence? Is there something else that maybe you thought of or that you could suggest if, let's just say, if it's
I mean,
just
maybe
not
a
possible?
light. I would say a light, a traffic light. I drove by another fence that was recently approved. It was on 15th Avenue and Wedgwood, and it would definitely be a site concern, except there is already a light there. So I would say a traffic light. But I think it's kind of an overarching issue of, so we approve variances for fences and then adjust our traffic patterns when this is already, it's already kind of a general rule of thumb, a rule for a reason. But yeah, I would say a traffic light at that intersection would fix things. I mean, I know that's a huge, it's a huge overhaul, but
I mean, I'm just looking at the pictures, and again, excuse my ignorance, but is narrowing the crosswalk, bringing the stopping point for the vehicles up closer to the bike lane? Is that an option or an idea?
that could be an option. I think that the fence would not be an issue if it was brought back 6 feet where it is required to be. And I would welcome all of you, when you have a chance, just to go to that intersection and see for yourself. And that's kind of what the frustration when it was my block that I turn on multiple times a day, that it was a 3-3 decision. They came back. It was then 4-3 that they granted the variance, and none of them had gone in their cars to try to turn left out of that intersection. And I felt like I was advocating for myself, and it didn't help.
I'll check into it.
Yeah.
I'll get back.
Thanks for bringing that to us. We really appreciate it.
And I'll get back to BPAC. let
Yeah,
you
thanks,
know
Brent.
All right, well.
What do they do?
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what the process is for,
I'll see if I can get some plans. And
yeah.
All right.
I'll send it.
Thank you. All right, any further public comment? All right, we can move on to subcommittee report outs. So we just had our first in-person subcommittee meetings today, upstairs at 4 p.m. before our meetings. That's gonna be our new time for the subcommittees to meet. It's 4 p.m. before each BPAC meeting up in the ITS conference room. These meetings are publicly available, so if anybody wants to come and see what we talk about, you're all welcome to come join us at 4 o'clock before each meeting at 5. We kind of all met together today as it was our first time doing this. I can give an update from Courtney, who had to leave early for the Community Engagement and Outreach Subcommittee. But Courtney Stone came and presented some options to us for some logos for BPAC, for like some mission statements, trying to kind of improve our visibility and kind of the process for improving our outreach. And so we're working on all of those things in conjunction with Courtney Stone, which I appreciate her help with. And then we talked about our 3 resolutions for today in our Rules, Processes, and Reporting Subcommittee meeting that we just discussed. Planning and Engineering Review, we need to kind of regroup since we're down to me and John Norris on the subcommittee now. We've had a couple people who have stepped down. And so I think we'll need to kind of regroup and figure out, hopefully we can get some new people appointed. We have 3 vacancies currently, and I would love to get us back up to 11. So we'll talk about how to kind of do those going forward. But that's kind of the main updates for today. Anybody else have updates from those meetings? I know KJ met with Brent to talk about the bicycle-friendly community application.
Yeah, so we're talking a little bit about the bicycle-friendly community application, which it will be due next year. It's for the League of American Bicyclists. We're currently at the bronze level, and they produced a list of recommendations for us to become better than bronze. We shall see. It will involve a lot of collaboration with different departments other than NDOT, but I think it's there's some interesting things afoot.
All right, thanks. More to come on that. All right, we can move on to programmatic updates. I think first up is Anna Dearman.
Thank you. Can I have you advance slides? All right, so downtown mobility lanes, this is just to bring everyone up to speed on the plan. Next slide. So you may be asking, what do mobility lanes look like? Actually, I have like 100 animations in this. Let me see if I can do this myself. Okay, all right. I'll drive, Brent. We don't know what mobility lanes look like. That is undefined at this point. This on the screen is our initial sort of conceptualizing from the Connect Downtown planning process. Informing that are resources like NACDO's Designing for Small Things with Wheels, which could include bicycles, electric bicycles, scooters, electric scooters, all manner of mobility devices. And in that guide, for example, you know, they're referencing a lot of different vehicle types. So cargo bike delivery, adaptive bicycles. And the important thing we know is that the facility needs to be wider than we're used to in order to serve people using different vehicles, you know, social biking where you're not expected to ride single file, where you have the opportunity to pass folks like you do if you're driving. So this is what the industry has offered up as far as the mobility lane goes, but we've not determined what exactly that looks like in Nashville. When we implement these mobility lanes in the Connect Downtown plan, we are considering a strategy of either demonstrating the facilities, that could be temporary, it could be durable to permanent. We don't know exactly where we're going to land on that scale. One treatment that stakeholders like Walk Bike Nashville have recommended are low concrete barriers. They're higher than a curb, lower than like a waist high or like chest high jersey barrier. These are known as Toronto curbs and have been implemented in cities across North America. Concrete wheel stops and other treatments could work as well. We've not implemented modular concrete materials for a bike lane in Nashville that I'm aware of, and so this could be an exciting treatment to try. And would be quick build, but also durable, potentially even permanent. So the mobility lane network that we will be implementing are almost all of the phase 1 Connect Downtown, downtown mobility lanes. So that's Demonbreun with a few different alignment options to get you across the river and north-south. Union connecting to the Spokes project, 7th Ave, upgrading Commerce in coordination, ongoing coordination with stakeholders. First Ave by the river, Rep. John Lewis and 5th Ave, all the way into Germantown. 6th Ave, south of KVB, 11th Ave in the Gulch, closing that gap in the existing bike lane in the Gulch. A segment of MLK that currently is a shared street now, and then a segment of Harrison. Just some additional notes. This is some old thinking around those alignments between Demonbreun and the Ped Bridge. This is from about 2018, but it's a starting point for the alternatives that we may consider. And I shouldn't say alternatives, the various alignments. Ideally, we will end up with multiple alignments to get you from Demonbreun to First Ave and also to the Ped Bridge and KVB. So we'll need things like a connection on 4th Ave, for example, and across Symphony Place, across Walk of Fame Park. We are at this point excluding the block of Rep. John Lewis adjacent to Music City Center, just based on our experience in coordinating with them through the Connect Downtown action plan process. So right now that's not included in the design scope, but is still a designated Connect Downtown mobility lane. You probably are aware 3 of these downtown mobility lanes are also Choose How You Move complete streets, now funded as of a couple Fridays ago. So that's Demonbreun, 7th Ave, and Union specifically, which forms kind of a backbone for the Connect Downtown mobility lane network, provides north-south and east-west connectivity. We're still determining what, if the chime and the non-chime mobility lanes are implemented on different timelines. We have $3 million for planning, design, and to get us towards construction on the chime mobility lanes. We have requested funding for the remaining mobility lanes through the capital spending plan process, which is underway right now. And so we should know by the end of the year whether we have funding for the non-chime mobility lanes. And this is that sort of proof of the drawdown funding for Choose How You Move. So it's a limited amount of funding in this drawdown. It is funded entirely through revenues instead of bonding for the funding, and so it's a little bit more constrained. But this almost $12 million for complete streets includes both Chestnut and Edge Hill bikeway construction, as well as the downtown mobility lanes. Other pieces to note, kind of to the public comment earlier, we're taking a complete street approach, and so it's not just it's not only a mobility lane that we're implementing, but we're also looking at the transit improvements that are needed, as well as curbside activity, signalization, and other sort of associated improvements. And so the scope also includes the conversions that are called for in Connect Downtown, and this excerpt from Connect Downtown really shows that sort of multimodal scope of the Phase 1 mobility lane and transit improvements. And so this is the scope that we are looking to advance for the downtown mobility lanes. So it does include these conversions in orange on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th Aves. It also includes the transit queue jumps in dark red. And then just to note, the Jefferson Bikeway was recently completed, and so we're, considering how we make that connection between Rep. John Lewis over to Jefferson. And the Church Street mobility lane is also in progress. And so this is another Chime Complete street. It's just mostly outside of downtown. It's mostly in Midtown, and so it's a bit of a distinct project. Also on Jefferson, I'll just note, of course, the Jefferson Street Corridor study is ongoing and relevant to the conversation as well. And then Spokes. Spokes construction is a bit further out than downtown mobility lane construction, but the Union Ave mobility lane will connect to Woodlands across the river. So right now we have 11 and counting proposals in hand for the consultant effort on these projects. That includes planning, design, and engagement that will be ongoing for a couple of years. We are currently reviewing those scopes with the mayor's office to make sure that we have, a metro consensus around exactly what this scope looks like moving forward. Like I said, we received $3 million of Chime funding for the planning and design, and then we'll know more by the end of the year what we have to spend from the capital budget. We hope to kick off the project. We've had lots of sort of preliminary conversations. Catherine, I know you've participated in some of those conversations. We're hoping to basically issue the notice to proceed to our consultants as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of the year. We are on a hard timeline to install the facilities, or at least make measurable progress by spring 2027. And so we will likely be under construction next year, whether that's for a demonstration project that is temporary or a demonstration project that is durable or even permanent. What questions do you all have?
You indicated, what you showed us indicated the 3rd and 4th will become one way. Which direction will each go?
So let's see, Brett, help me out.
Second is going to be two-way. Third is going to go one-way north. 4th is one-way south. 7th is one-way north. There's some little sections on 3rd, 4th, and 7th that stay two-way, very small. But that's, and in my next presentation, you've probably already seen it in the packet, I show you those 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th conversions. Really important to the downtown, along with bike lanes, because we need to get people to change to mode shift, or we're going to have tremendous problems in that downtown. And those intersections are already bad, and they're going to get worse if we don't do anything.
What other questions do you all have?
Yeah, what is the schedule of the capital spending plan?
So we assume that we'll know what plan was adopted this fall, around November.
So the mayor is preparing it right now.
That's what we understand, yes.
Okay. I assume you proposed projects to them, right?
Yes, we propose to fund the non-Chime Connect Downtown Phase 1 mobility lanes.
Okay. So the Chime funding is separate from the regular capital spending plan?
Right,
Okay, and it's already been approved?
right.
Okay. Another question I have is you're showing some current and proposed greenways down there, which I assume is supposed to be a connection from the Ped Bridge to the Cumberland River Greenway?
Yes, and we are not advancing the greenways as part of this project, just coordinating with parks.
Okay, because I've always wondered, what is the Greenway down there on First?
Right, and it's more even than just the greenway. NDOT planning is also leading an effort that builds on the Second Ave reconstruction to re-envision First Ave. And so First Ave has a lot of stakeholders, the planning department and their vision, MDHA and their role, parks, and then also NDOT. It's also a federally protected park, and so any changes that we make, because it received federal funding several decades ago, and so it'll definitely need to be an intentional conversation around if and how that park is modified.
Well, if you're from out of town, or even if you're from in town and don't spend much time down there, if you come across the Bike Ped Bridge, you have no idea how to get to Germantown. I mean, there's no signage. I'm not sure, is that brick sidewalk, is that the Greenway? If you look at their map, there's a green line down there somewhere. I mean, you go through the bus parking there, through the roundabout, and literally you would have no idea where to go, you know.
Right, yeah, definitely a good conversation to have as part of that First Ave effort. So we're moving forward with First Ave, assuming we get the funding, and that will hopefully help prod some of these conversations around the vision for First Ave, the Greenway component, and then also the larger parks component.
Is the Parks Department involved at all?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Davidson.
Okay.
You're right.
There he is.
Could we put it on the agenda next meeting to hear what their plans are for all of this down there?
What other questions do you all have?
Robert has a question.
Yeah, can you recognize?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. That's really exciting. And I appreciate the quick build ideas to get things rolling, to get things started. With the Chime projects, which is receiving its full allocation for its entirety of planning and design, do you also imagine those could be done in a two-step process of a temporary quick build version followed by the final version, even though the 3 million is for the entirety of the planning and design?
Right, I do think that it is flexible. So the questions around, is it guaranteed, basically, how the facility gets implemented? Is it two-step quick build and then permanent, or is it permanent immediately, or is it quick build and yet durable? Those are three valid options. We haven't determined that yet. That'll be an early decision point in the planning and design process.
Yeah, great. We look forward to this. It's great.
Yep, thank you all.
Thank you, Catherine.
Other questions?
Yeah, this sounds great. Thanks, Anna, for the update. Really appreciate it. I know we talked about this during one of the meetings, but I think showing that the Connect Downtown bikeways are different and better than what we have is actually going to be really important in the success of these. So I think using those concrete barriers would be an awesome first step, something that's modular, but it's durable. And it's not just kind of throwing up some flex posts and calling it a bikeway. I think it's going to show that this is a new initiative, and this is going to be a really high quality network that anybody can use. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing those comments. It's
Yeah.
definitely helpful as we scope this project.
Sure. And if we can be involved going forward, just let us know. Love to
Will
provide
do.
some guidance.
Yeah, for sure. We'll bring at the different milestones in the process that we've described with at least BZAC. I'm not sure if we've discussed that with BPAC yet, but, we'll have plan review, sort of designated plan review times. We did discuss this when we were in the enterprise room.
Yes,
So
the charter
those,
process,
yeah,
yeah.
certainly those touch points.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up is Brent.
Thank you. And Catherine and I were working on or Chair McDonald and I were working on the agenda. She asked for a Connect Downtown update, and so I thought I'd just quickly remind you, where is Connect Downtown? It's everything inside that dotted line. It works with the East Bank project, but its real focus is from the Cumberland West inside the interstate there. Just to take you back, why did we do it? It was identified in the Metro Nashville Transportation Plan that it was needed. And as you all know, the downtown slows to a crawl many weekends and when there's lots of events there. And we've got lots of construction that's happened, lots of people living there. Basically, we've got to do something. The Connect Downtown challenges and goals, as you all know, people are stuck in traffic. Loading space limited, Nashville is popular. Travel options don't match desires and transit's slow, and our streets are unsafe. We have safety issues we're constantly working on out there, we need a plan. The Connect Downtown had these 5 big moves: manage congestion, that's adaptive signals, improve safety, vision zero efforts, move more people, that's our transit corridors projects, create complete networks, that's better sidewalks, bike mobility in the downtown, and then maximizing the curb. That's something I'm working on a lot lately. Just wanted to remind you of the Connect Downtown plan, that everything connects the whole metro in through the downtown. It's really a hub and spoke. If you look at that plan, the transit priority corridors, priority loading areas, mobility lanes, using technology, adaptive signals, and flex lanes. It's a 10-year plan. It isn't going to happen overnight, although there's already a lot of work that's going on with it. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the flexible curb, but just to tell you, I am doing things on that all the time with downtown businesses, and we're talking about flexing the curbs to match this, because it's going to give them more space for loading and unloading and more space for the passenger drop-offs, so those happen. So one of the big initiatives right now that I've been working on and having a lot of engagement meetings, I think I've had, close to 8 to 10 now, is the 2nd Avenue street conversion. With the 2nd Avenue rebuild project, that's going to be done probably end of December. They're almost done with it, and the plan for that street is for it to go to 2-way from basically Union all the way to the interstate. However, what we're working on right now is just from Union all the way to KVB, that section of the street. The TDOT's not ready with their interstate improvements yet for where 2nd hits it, but we are in discussions with them. So one of the things Connect Downtown said to do was on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is to study them before you do the plan. We've studied it with KCI did a study on it. It's first off, it's a key project to begin a multimodal plan for downtown. It's the first of those 4 streets that we need to do. It improves accessibility and new southbound access to downtown. I walked that street and handed out flyers to everybody to come to a meeting on one of the meetings on that. Pretty much everybody that I was on that west side of that street wants southbound access to their businesses. Now there are businesses that don't want it at all. They like the northbound access. They think it works. But that's not what the study bears out. The study says we need the 2-way access. What are the other benefits? Decrease miles traveled and turning movements, improve circulation. It eliminates wrong way driving on that street. Some of the businesses on that Broadway and 2nd told me they're stopping cars all the time from turning on Broadway down to stop them from going down a one-way street. 8 intersections are level service D or better, and reduction in level service at 2nd and Broadway. We've got to put new mast arms and signals on that street, right, for the southbound traffic. So there's, I think, 4 or 5 locations where we have to put in new poles, and as a part of that project. Also on 2nd and KVB, we got to put in a foundation and a very large pole to make that all work. So this is just these aren't precise plans this is just basically, I wanted to show you, one of the things that people were saying, there's no loading or drop-off areas for 2nd. Yeah, there are. This is the areas from Broadway up to Commerce Street. There are 2 of them there. And then there's 3 from Commerce up to Church, and then another one up from Church to there. They're like 63 footers, and some of them were saying, well, we don't have it. Well, you don't have them because the street's blocked right now. It's under construction. There's 3 of them in there that you can't use, but they soon will be able to use those. So, and then here is the plans that KCI did from KVB all the way up, and it's basically a 3-lane center turn lane, and you've got the northern travel and southern travel. Then you've got this area between the short stretch between Molly and Demonbreun. It's got the 2-lane with the 2 left turn lanes in it. You can see the little blue marker up there. That's the signals. And then they've colored what happens in the curb there. Oop, sorry. And then when you start seeing the curb uses flow in there, you see the no parking areas, the bike, you can see where I put a bike corrals in there, the blue ones, the pay parking areas, and then in green, and then use the black, those are openings to the parking structures or into parking areas. And then from the Ped Bridge or bike bridge all the way up to Broadway, you can see one of the last signals that goes in up there, and you can see the same kind of uses that are on that east side of the road. So that's what we've been working on. One of the things we're going to be doing, one of the complaints from some of the people is there isn't enough enforcement on 2nd Avenue. Well, that's not exactly true. We've in the last year, we've done about 1,200 citations on that street to stop people from blocking it. We'll continue that. But what we've committed to do, we're going to do a 3-week enforcement program out there where we're going to have our staff doing education to the delivery companies and taxi companies and rideshare and everybody where they are to be, where they're not to be. And then after those 2 weeks, we're going to start writing citations if the people are blocking the road. Also, downtown really is it's a work in progress, and it's on implementation at Connect Downtown. And I think it's, when I get out there and I'm on my bike cruising around or walking around, I'm always looking for opportunities, talking to people, how could we adjust the curb uses so it not only is safe, but it's going to help their business, but help us get people in and out of there as efficiently as possible and try not to jam it up, which is very hard to keep going on a day-to-day basis. The next thing I wanted to let you know that we've been working on is the downtown bollard Raptor installation process. This is one our engineering team's been working on. These are special, what would I call them? Just protection bollards. They're flush most of the time on the ground, but if somebody is barreling down that street and gonna try to do something, our police and fire and teams can put those up. They go up immediately. My understanding is they can stop a fully laden Mack truck at 55 miles an hour. So this will be our first one. You'll probably see it after Veterans Day. You'll see construction happening out there to put it in. You'll also see over to the right there, you'll see a big box that controls it. It's very sophisticated. It's the latest technology for protecting streets, so that'll be probably done by end of November is what I'm hearing, so that's the current schedule on that. Oop. There's another picture of it from the other way.
Is it just for emergency situations, or could it be for closing the street off on a busy Saturday night?
I imagine they can use it close it for a special event or something like that. Yes, I'm sure they could use it for that. And there's ongoing meetings with that. Our fire department, police department are obviously in there at every meeting with our team, the engineering firm that's working on it, the company that makes those Raptors has been in there. The next thing I've been working on, TPAC's been going good. We did a rideshare pilot up there. We're on our second phase of it, and it seems to be working good on Dedrick and 6. We got 2 rideshare pickup drop-off zones that are only active when they have events. And I was asked by our director to go out and find other locations. If you look on that flexible curb plan in the Connect Downtown, it's got little black dots. those were the rideshare pickup drop-off zones envisioned. I went out there, not very many of those worked. I picked these. So there's about 26 of them. They could hold approximately 80 vehicles. They're from the size of 2 to 3 parking spaces up to one of them's as big as 9 vehicles could be stored in it. They're only to be there for 15 minutes to pick up or drop off. It's not for like a taxi stand. That's not the idea behind it. So it's for short-term use, 15 minutes. And we're going to try it operationally from Thursday through Sunday from 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. Now, I'm working with Uber and Lyft. I'm in daily discussions with them on it. I'm not going to put these in until I get their commitment. They will use them and they'll geofence to them. So the idea is, you're someplace by Broadway and you want to walk over there to John Lewis and Broadway. There's one right there. You could walk up there and get your ride and either be dropped off there or picked up there, or some of the other areas. So I've tried to scatter them around. We've tried to use loading zones. There is some of them in metered parking areas, but it's not going forward. And I'll let you know if I get their commitments. Right now, they seem very interested in it, but we'll see. I want a commitment before we put up a bunch of signage and try it out. Here, I just wanted to show you some pictures of them. I use with my handy phone. I've got latitude, longitude of each one. I've sent that information to the company so they're looking at it now to see if they can use them.
So this is encouraging the use of cars, correct?
It's rideshare pickup drop-off zones. It's to focus them. What's going on right now is.
But why should we care about that?
Well, you wanted.
This is not a rideshare commission.
Yeah, you wanted an update about.
Well, not about rideshare. I'm sorry, I don't. Maybe everybody else does.
Well, I was asked by the chair to give it. I can go on, and then the next project I've been working on is Germantown bike and scooter corrals. This is just some of the locations that we when we first did downtown that we've identified. I'm now going back out there, marking those that we can do. And then I've got to do the whole work order process. There's approximately about 70 locations, but I'm going to double check them with our city engineer. And then I'd like to get that area done, by June if I can. Hopefully the weather holds, and hopefully I don't get buried with other projects, but I'd like to get that done.
You said there are 70 of them?
Approximately about 70, but
You don't know?
Don't hold me to that because there could be, when I get out there, we had interns do a lot of these, and then I went out after the interns did them, and some of them didn't work. But I ended up with 140 that we put in downtown that didn't exist, and I got those done in about 3 months. So 140.
There are 140?
140 scooter
this?
and bike corrals that I did downtown.
Not
when
70?
I first got here. But this one has 70 is what I've counted. I need to go double check them, see that they work. If they do.
So there are 140 downtown and 70 more in Germantown?
Up in this area.
Okay.
But don't hold me to that 70.
Okay. How much does each corral cost?
Oh, gosh, I'd have to go pull those. I don't have those
Are
numbers.
you doing them in-house or with contract?
We're doing them in-house, yeah.
In-house, okay.
They do.
Your fee study says they cost $1,000 each.
Yeah, the guys are really efficient. They can do them fast.
How are you funding them?
They're being funded right now with the Connect Downtown monies that we have in our budget.
Is that capital funding?
I think it's capital funding, but I can double check that for you.
Okay. How many of them have bike racks?
I'm sorry?
How many of them have bike racks?
I have to.
Bike rack.
The ones I did downtown are here.
Anywhere, any of them?
I'd have to pull,
Okay, can you get that?
I can get that for you, sir,
Okay.
yes.
And at some point, these should be mapped.
They are all mapped.
They are.
Yeah.
Do the scooter companies have in their apps?
They do. TD's got them all. Every time, when we did the downtown ones, we met probably every 2 weeks, and then our GIS people gave TD the latitude, longitude of each, and then they were given to the bike and scooter companies. And then I met with TD and his bike and scooter companies, and we told them use them.
But it's not required, it's not mandatory.
I don't think so. I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
But they've been, at least when I go out there, they seem to be used.
Using them, right,
Yeah.
without making them mandatory. Okay.
So with that, there's a total of 103 projects in the Connect Downtown list. The Phase 1 and 2 projects are about 65. 5 projects are complete: traffic management center, the 140 downtown bikes, pedestrian interval timing, and the timing of the lights is pretty much done. The Jefferson Street bike lanes, Second Avenue rebuild's just about done. It's right there if you go peek over the fence. So 16 projects are underway. Adaptive signals planning and installation by our TMC staff over there. Access management policy on how valet and how loading zones are supposed to be designed in projects. I go to a lot of the meetings on entitlement review, and whenever developers want to put a valet or a loading zone next to our bike lanes, I'm the person that says, no, you can't do it because it's not going to work with our bikeways. So we have them designed it into the project so it doesn't hurt that, or the transit corridors as well. So basically anything in the Connect Downtown, if I think it's going to stop it, I'm authorized to object. So, and I do. Then next thing is event management planning. That's our, Megan and I go to the transportation, or to the event management, transportation planning meetings monthly. We see everything going on downtown. I'm actually working on some other things with them.
It's in like, the first phase is completed.
Yeah.
Into the second phase for that.
Yeah. And then the Second Avenue North-South studies is done, and street conversion plans are being underway. Church Street safety improvements, that's Anna's group. Rosa Park safety improvement, that's Anna, and I think Val's working on that. Intersection safety audits, that's Val. Unsignalized crossing improvements, that's Raquel in engineering. She's got a lot of those plans done. I think she's got to move some small cell towers to get those in. Vision Zero capital improvements, that's Val's stuff. The bike and scooter crawls, Germantown, that's mine. Downtown rideshare zone is mine, and I'm keeping an eye on the bollards, as well as, and then John Lewis Way and Broadway and Church Street, Union Woodland mobility lanes, which you heard about from Anna. So it's approximately 20% of the projects for phases 1 and 2 are moving forward. So it's, it's a work in process, and we're going as fast as we can. So any questions on the Connect Downtown?
Yes, I have a
Update?
question about the Second Avenue conversion.
Yes.
So what concessions do you have for people walking or biking along that route?
There's nothing planned in the Connect Downtown for any bike lanes on that street, other than there is, when you get up there to Commerce, you'll connect to the new Commerce bike lanes.
Right.
That's a connection there.
And what will the speed limit be signed at?
The speed, I would have to double check what speed limit they're going to do that on, KJ.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that. I imagine it's 25 or in there. Not going to be fast.
That seems pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my concern too, KJ. It seems like this is an area of very high pedestrian traffic, as you know, right downtown.
Yeah.
And converting that to two-way, it sounds like we're trying to cram in a whole lot of cars and kind
Yeah.
of focusing a lot on traffic volume and level of service for drivers. And we just kind of redesigned that section and put in raised crosswalks and, trying to make it more pedestrian friendly. So it seems like we're kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to get lost.
Yeah, I will double check that, what
Thanks.
that number is going to be. Second, and anything else?
Yes, do you think that you can have those bollards, the preventative bollards that are going to pop up on Broadway, pop up where the pedestrian signals are on Second right now? Because people don't stop for folks in the crosswalk already. So if you're going to make it a
Yeah.
two-way, it's going to be even more difficult to get that driver's attention to stop. So put that in as a note, that those should be
Yeah,
something
at Second.
like that there.
This is kind of a pilot and test it out, see how it works, use it. And then I know they're looking at other ways to secure the downtown. And as they do, I'll bring it to you so you know what's happening. Is there anything else? All All right, next up is, let's see, we've got, is Katie here on the 4th Avenue temporary bus lane? Oh. Hey, Katie.
Hey, how are you? Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Katie Friedberg. I'm the Director of Service Development at WeGo. And today I'll be presenting an update on the 4th Avenue bus priority lane pilot that's been ongoing since September. So just as background, there are 3 WeGo routes that go down 4th Avenue. The 6 Lebanon Pike, the 52 Nolensville Pike, and the 55 Murfreesboro Pike. Right now, these routes come in via 8th and then go south via 4th. Together on Friday and Saturday nights, they account for about 30% of the ridership in our system. A lot of routes have lower ridership on Fridays and Saturdays. These routes are the opposite. They have higher ridership, in part because of events downtown and a large number of hospitality workers that ride these routes. On a typical Friday or Saturday night, there's a few hundred passengers that board between Central, Church Street, and the Convention Center. But 4th Avenue is a really challenging operating environment, especially on Friday and Saturday nights, as well as nights of special events. First, in terms of safety, there's, as you know, a high volume of pedestrians. A lot of them are not familiar with the city or with, the crossings at Broadway. A lot of them may be intoxicated as the night goes on, don't necessarily have a lot of awareness of their surroundings. And, this picture isn't the best, but I kind of like it. This is what it looks like from the inside of a bus. The passenger, the driver can see more clearly than this, but this is a green light on 4th with officers controlling traffic, and that's the number of people in the intersection. And so that, is obviously a safety concern. It also creates a really slow operating environment. Our median speed on Friday and Saturday nights is around 2 miles an hour. There are nights where it can take a bus close to an hour to go about 1/3 of a mile on the really busy nights. And then in terms of reliability, it creates a really negative experience for passengers. If you know that the last bus is coming through at 1:20 and you're clocking out of work, it's really frustrating to clock out at 1:20 and then the bus doesn't come till 1:45 or 1:50. Same thing if you're leaving an event early because you know that you need to catch the last bus home, and then that bus doesn't come. Or it does come, but it comes much later and you could have stayed at the event longer. So we've been working to identify, solutions to this, as you know, both short and long term. I think the obvious question is, why don't we detour? We see a few major challenges with that, and not to say that it's not a possibility as well. But transit really thrives on consistency, people knowing that the bus is going to come to the same place every day, that you can get on the bus at the same place, regardless of whether you get off at 6 o'clock or 6:05, for example. It's also challenging in terms of communication. We have a lot of passengers, particularly at the convention center, who don't speak English as their first language. And then some of the alternatives are not even faster all of the time. And so we don't want to necessarily introduce that level of confusion for something that may be equally slow. Connect Downtown, like Brent said, does eventually shift these routes to 8th Avenue. James Robertson, Rosa Parks, 8th Avenue. One of the things that we're waiting for before doing that is the improved facilities that come with these transit priority corridors. First, when we add these buses to Rosa Parks, it doubles the number of buses on that road, on a road that's already congested. We already have problems sometimes where a bus can't come through an intersection because there's not enough room due to the queue. And then in terms of passenger waiting facilities, 2 of the busiest stops in our system are 8th and Broadway and 4th and Convention Center. And so combining those 2 stops without making improvements to that area is going to result in challenges picking up passengers and challenges for people trying to walk on the sidewalk getting past the bus stop there.
So since the beginning of, since September 12th, we, in coordination with NDOT and MNPD, have been piloting a bus priority lane as part of a larger traffic control plan downtown that includes the closure of Broadway with cross streets open to improve pedestrian safety as well as emergency access. And so there has been a bus priority lane operating from approximately midway between Church and Commerce down to just past Broadway, and some nights to Demonbreun, around 1,000 feet. It's been staffed by officers who are contracted through a security company.
What hours is this?
Around 7:30 p.m. till the last bus comes through at around 1:30. 17 officers sounds like a lot of officers, and it is a lot of officers. Several of those officers go into controlling pedestrians at 4th and Broadway. That is key to keeping things moving. And it takes a good amount of manpower to keep people out of that intersection. And then managing the contraflow lane for general traffic on 4th between Broadway and Commerce. And then the remainder of them are enforcing the bus lane and ensuring that other vehicles aren't going in it. So each Friday and Saturday night, like I said, starting around 7:30 or 8, this lane has been in effect. So these are some examples of it. Both of these are with the bus lane on the curb. But we have also, for the last 4 weeks, operated with the bus in the center lane. And that's partly because of the pedestrian volume on 4th approaching Broadway. We had pedestrians that were just taking over the bus lane. And so an officer was having to walk them through. And so that's been one of the, I think, really important aspects of this pilot, is that it has really been a living pilot. MNPD, NDOT, and WEGO have been down there monitoring it, putting adjustments into place in real time, trying things to see what works, what doesn't work. And then having weekly follow-up meetings to identify, what were the successes of the past week, and what is the data telling us from that week, so that we can determine what to adjust for the next week. And so to Manayan's earlier point about vehicles in the bus lane, that was one of the changes that we attempted last weekend based on observations. The bus lane overall has been really effective in getting the bus through faster, but one of the challenges we're seeing is a bottleneck at the north end of it. And so there's, a few options that we've discussed to address that. Some of them involve, possibly extending the bus lane. One of the things that we were trying was whether it was possible to flush some of those vehicles out when it was bottlenecked and there was a bus coming. And so this week we'll be looking at the data from that, evaluating that, and figuring out how to move forward next weekend. We have also had some challenges with, for example, emergencies. I think the first or second weekend there was an impaired driver who drove through the bus lane onto the sidewalk. We've had some emergency responses. But, like I said, MNPD and WEGO have been out there really working through those. So in terms of travel time impacts, it has been very effective. So this is starting at 7 p.m. up through the end of service, 1 a.m. And these are average bus travel times from just south of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to Lafayette Street. And that is longer than the bus lane, so that we're sure that we're capturing any additional impacts on traffic that there may have been, for example, a bottleneck at the beginning, or anything that's happening with traffic at the end of it. So as you can see, and this is divided into no bus lane on the left of each hour of the evening, bus lane at the curb, which is the darker purple, and then bus lane in the center, which is the gray color there. And this was through, I think, October 4th so far. So you can see that, the first week, for example, we had, the first couple of weeks, we did have slower travel times in the 7 p.m. hour when they were setting out the cones, which makes sense. but pretty substantial improvements in average travel time throughout the rest of the night, especially in the 10 o'clock hour. And then, reducing variability is also one of our major objectives here, making transit predictable and reliable for people. And so one of the things we've been looking at is not just average and median travel speeds, but 80th percentile and maximum travel speeds or travel times for the night. And so these are the highest, the absolute worst trip of the night travel time from April through October. And I should have included October of last year. October is actually a really bad month downtown, just in terms of delay and the volume of people there. But you can see that the worst travel times of the night are often over 30 minutes, sometimes over 50 minutes. I've actually excluded all data over 60 minutes, even though we know some of them are legitimate, so that we're not inadvertently including a case where a bus maybe broke down or was in an accident. So these times are actually maybe better than they actually are. But on the right in the dark purple, you can see the worst travel times of each Friday and Saturday night so far in the pilot. So there are still some times that are relatively high considering the short distance that we're talking about, but we are seeing them overall, it looks like they're trending in the direction that we want, that they're getting lower and more consistent. So next weekend will be the last weekend of the pilot. We'll continue coordination on adjustments through next weekend, and then comes an evaluation phase to determine how to move forward. So in that phase, we'll be looking at the impacts on travel time and reliability for bus service, the impacts on safety, both for pedestrians, buses, and other vehicles coming through there. The resource requirements, and then any impacts to traffic or businesses downtown. And from there, we'll determine what the next steps are, and that could look like, not continuing the bus lane, continuing the bus priority lane in this format or a different one for future special events and Friday and Saturday nights. It could also include exploring the alternatives, like detouring on Friday and Saturday night, or rerouting buses, even though some of those improvements that we want to see on 8th aren't in place yet, or accelerating those improvements. And so that decision will happen through conversation with MNPD, NDOT, WEGO, and I'm sure others will be brought into that conversation as well. And I'm happy to take any questions or conversation. Yes, sir.
Are bicycles in the bus priority lane?
They have not been. I also am not sure that we have seen very many bikes down there.
I wouldn't expect you to see many, but it seems to be getting the speeds involved, it might be reasonable to allow them.
I think that's definitely something we can talk about, even for, yeah. Any other?
I know you're in the pilot phase right now, but I guess long-term, is it feasible, I guess financially or with manpower, to have those persons, those 17 persons on that corner of 4th and Broadway? That's, although, some of us may not be interested in rideshare. Myself being a rideshare driver, I am very interested in what's happening downtown. For myself, I just avoid it and don't have to worry about it. But if I wanted to go that way, I would want to know kind of what's the plan, and to know ahead of time, and to have some kind of guidance on the app as well. But that 4th and Broadway, you said 17 people. It's got to be 9 at that intersection, because you need 2 on each corner. Visitors are not going to stop, walking, even though, the entire thing is theirs, diagonal crossing, all of that. They're going to take the time of the cars when, their light is green as well. But again, long-term, is that something that can be ongoing, or is it just going to disappear soon?
I think that's a really important question, and I think that's going to be one of the most important things to talk about as we evaluate this, is Are there ways to operate it with fewer resources or to get most of the impact that we had with fewer officers? Is there an alternative that doesn't include that much staffing, that is still safe and efficient for vehicles coming through there, but still controls pedestrians effectively? And then, what does that mean, for example, for the queue jumps on 4th Avenue in Connect Downtown? And Third as well. Yeah, and Third absolutely has the same problems, of course. We just don't drive there right now. But I think those questions are really important to ask.
Yeah, I think it's great to see some data on this. I know it's something that's been a long time coming, and it's good to see it actually in effect. I think a lot of the issues that you highlight, I think, just really emphasize the need for more pedestrian space downtown. I think it's just, if you look at that sidewalk on 4th, it's incredibly narrow. So of course they're going to spill out onto the street because you're not giving them any other space. So I think we need to figure out, how not to control pedestrians, but just give them more space and give them more access to downtown. I don't spend a lot of time downtown at night anymore, but when I do, I am floored by how many cars we allow down there. And I think that's where these problems come from, not from the pedestrians. So have you considered detouring cars off of 4th? This is a really important bus and pedestrian route. I don't think cars need access to all of our downtown. And I think we'd all benefit if they had less access.
And I think that is also something that's really worth looking at. One of the interesting problems that we did see with the bus lane, because buses aren't coming through as frequently as cars, they're carrying a lot of people, but they aren't coming as frequently. These routes are every 15 to 20 to 60 minutes, depending which route it is that as soon as that lane is empty, pedestrians are taking over it. And so I'm not sure, and I think it's worth talking about whether, if it were closed to all vehicles, whether it is even possible to keep it open enough for buses to come through periodically. And I'm not sure of the answer to that.
All right, thank you so
Thank you
much. All right, finally we have Val talking about safe routes to school and bike buses. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. My name is Val Martinez. I'm a planner with the Nashville Department of Transportation. Just want to quickly go over our safe routes to school and some bike bus options. So going back to, I guess, the start of our Safe Routes to School programming, it started initially with a guide. So back in 2024, NDOT, in partnership with MNPS, We Go, Walk Bike Nashville, Civic Design Centers, and others created a Safe Routes to School program toolkit. We included guiding principles such as we wanted to make sure that this remained Vision Zero focused, that it was equitable, data-driven, comprehensive, collaborative, and sustainable. We also tried to ensure that this program did have standards so that it would be rooted in a comprehensive approach, that it would be aligned with our foundational principles of the Vision Zero program, such as encapsulating those 5E frameworks. So this is just an overview of, again, some of our guiding principles. What does it mean to be Vision Zero focused? We want to make sure that anything we're doing surrounding schools is also aimed at reducing the number of serious injury and fatal related crashes, that it is an equitable approach. So all students, regardless of what income or neighborhood that they're living in, they should have a safe access to school, also regardless of whatever mode of transportation they choose to use. So going back to the Vision Zero style of approach with the 5 E's, we wanted to focus on a couple different elements, such as engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, and evaluation. Engineering playing probably the biggest role that NDOT has. Some of those examples with engineering would be looking at sidewalk gaps, bikeway improvements, crossings, but we didn't want to just ignore the remainder of the 4 E's. So some education examples. We do meet with various schools. In the past, we've met with some elementary schools to go over some basic stop, look, and listen campaigns, road signage 101. And we've done a bit more intensive Vision Zero education for new drivers with the high schools. Some encouragement opportunities are ones we have yet to implement, but we are looking to explore TDM opportunities with MNPS schools. It's just one we're tracking for the future. Enforcement opportunities come through speed management, as well as taking a look at opportunities for temporary traffic control plans. And then as far as evaluation goes, we are still hosting a monthly MNPS coordination call, trying to see what's working with schools and what's not. So some historical issues in our approach has just been, some of the items that we hear is that there is a lack of uniform markings and signage. There is little to no bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Our roads do see high vehicle travel speeds, and there is little to no community and stakeholder involvement when we go out there and we're trying to do school zone improvements. We are working on roadways that were designed decades ago with, again, no consideration towards various modes. So today, our current approach that we are taking will be divided into 2 phases. We are interested in creating new and enhanced school zone markings and signage, creating more of a uniform look. If you're driving around, oftentimes you don't even know you're in a school zone. And if you're a pedestrian or cyclist, you don't even feel comfortable taking your kid or being a student walking to school. Phase 2, we are looking at neighborhood-wide traffic calming opportunities, but this is just, one approach. We are also looking to expand opportunities for tactical urbanism, for new sidewalk and bikeway improvements through larger scale capital projects, working with WeGo for some bus stop enhancements, and really taking advantage of some easier traffic calming opportunities. But trying to capture all of MNPS has historically been a huge challenge. To date, our services have really relied on being an on-call basis. So if a school has an advocate and they know the avenues to essentially reach out to their principal or someone within the overall administrative staff, it may get to us, but unless a certain school has an advocate and knows the appropriate channels to contact us, we often don't even know that there's an issue. So we went ahead and took a look at prioritizing every single MNPS school, including charters and privates. Our goal is to create uniform markings and signage for every single school in Davidson County. We took a prioritization approach based primarily on the high injury network, but also a vulnerability designation, as well as crash data. So we took all schools, wanted to look at a 1.5 mile buffer, created a scoring system, and it kind of shows you down at the bottom a couple of different features, again, distance to high injury network, and then vulnerable designation status. So in total, we're looking at around roughly 230 schools, which we are hoping to get done within the next 4 years, assuming we can do 50 to 60 schools. And this is just one example that we're currently trying to expand. So this is Head Magnet Middle School. Some of the changes that I think we can expect through this new Safe Routes to School approach is expanding the school zone. So it's not just creating markings along the roadway that's adjacent to the school, but really expanding it, seeing where's the potential for kids who are walking and biking. So that means adding new crosswalks, adding additional signage, maybe a couple blocks down, really increasing the visibility. The markings and striping can all be done in-house, but I think where this takes a multiple step approach would be as things get more costly. So if we're looking at, again, striping and signage can be done in-house, but something that would require ADA ramp to do a new crossing may have to be contracted out. But these are simple fixes that we can get to relatively quickly. We're also looking at traffic calming opportunities such as vertical delineation, speed cushions. And I would say that this is one of the first examples that we can see it did come to the top of a priority list. We are also working with coordinating project selection. We don't have all the funding available to do the biggest transformations that we know would make the biggest impact. So as we start to work with projects being developed through the Tactical Urbanism Project or other capital projects, we are running them through similar criteria, taking a look at items like, are they on the high injury network? What's the proximity? Do we know how many people are walking and biking to school? What's a neighborhood's crash history? So overall, Nashville's Safe Routes to School represents a collective commitment to the safety and well-being of its young learners by combining infrastructure enhancements with engaging educational initiatives and community partnership. Program aims to create a city where every student's journey to and from school is safe, accessible, and enjoyable. As we embark on this endeavor, we invite the entire Nashville community to join us in shaping a brighter future for our students, where every step they take towards learning is a step towards a safer and healthier future. Together, we can make Nashville a city where every student's journey is safe and enriching experience. I would say really where the big community aspect comes into play, it really is in that like phase 2. So I think we know pretty easily where striping and signage is going to go, but we have had, and I would say that the Dan Mills community was a really good example where they had made requests for the adjustment of signals, which again we could do, but there's additional requests for new crossings. That was a comment because they were engaged with the students, they knew where foot traffic was coming from. They had also made a recommendation for removal of a double yellow line and adding potential markings on ground to highlight a potential neighborhood greenway. Again, we want to have continuously these conversations with the community where we may not have understood some of these types of improvements. I am excited to say that Dan Mills is coming up on our 1-year prioritization list, so we can expect, at least for the Dan Mills example, to be done by the end of 2026, hopefully in the spring to summer. Sorry, that was very fast. Any questions?
I have a quick question for you. So I've been on a couple of those MMPS and DOT calls as my role as a commissioner here, and several of the school administrators most of the school administrators tend to focus on issues of traffic via vehicles. Mm-hmm. At one point, I believe a school was being requested to put up a fence and then direct all of the vehicle traffic somewhere. What role can NDOT and I guess Safe Routes to School generally do in persuading these administrators that creating more ways for people to walk and bike to school would actually be a better thing for them versus simply controlling and managing vehicle traffic?
I think there's a couple different opportunities. One would be with the new traffic. I think we could have a win both ways. So by creating new traffic patterns through schools, they can submit essentially rerouting traffic. How do you, let's say, take vehicles who are traveling in both directions to moving them, maybe it's a one-way in, one-way out, to using one lane for pedestrian or cyclist traffic. I think doing that temporarily during school drop-off pickup hours could be an opportunity if we know that, the school has people walking or biking, or maybe they do want to incentivize people walking, but there's no existing facilities. So if we can't go in and add a bike lane right away, because we don't have the right of way, we don't have the funds, whatever the case is, we may be able to do a mixture of a demonstration project, / new traffic control plan during a temporary set of time during the day. Where we come into limitations is school capacity. So NDOT doesn't have the resources to be able to manage these traffic control plans or the materials, but we can assist with putting together plan sets if the community does have active parents or volunteers. I'm aware that MNPS is also limited on their capacity to assist with these, and so is MNPD, but I think we're still trying to figure that one out.
Do you think that potentially using the Open Streets playbook would help?
Absolutely.
To do that?
Yeah, and I think it would be an interesting challenge to see how it would work again, only like a couple hours a day, but yes, it would take some type of manpower to be able to remove street closures.
Thanks.
Yeah.
If any of you would like to find out about the Dan Mills bike bus, there's going to be a community meeting November 6th, I believe, yes, which is the regular neighborhood meeting in Inglewood, and invited Fowl to come, and also our school board member, Zach Young, is supposed to be there, so we can lobby him while he's there. These folks in the back have done a great job in creating a bike bus for Dan Mills, which could be a model for other schools. Are there any ideas about doing that, taking what they've learned and multiplying it?
I personally have not taken that into consideration. I think we're more focused on the infrastructure side of how do we get existing bike buses safely to school, or like what are the barriers for a group who wants to start a bike?
Would MNPS have any interest in doing that? Do you think, have they shown any interest? Do you think we
Of
could?
this being an MNPS-led initiative?
Yeah, or maybe working with Walk Bike, or, you know.
Yeah, and Walk Bike does sit on our monthly coordination calls, so we can always reach out to them, but.
Okay. Well, at that meeting, there will be a school board member there, so let's take the opportunity to encourage him to get them more involved. Okay. I guess, are there any other schools doing bike bus? Or is that the only one?
I'm not certain.
I know Lockland Springs has been doing one for a while.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. And there's a couple of walking school buses around the county, but I cannot recall specifically which schools. They're mostly elementary schools, though.
Right, yeah. Well, I know also in Inglewood, the Inglewood Elementary School, the car line uses the bike lane. And, you know, there's nothing there but some of those plastic sticks, which of course don't stop anybody from doing anything. And I haven't complained about it because I'm not sure what you could do, except, you know, I don't know, move the car lane to a different street maybe, or maybe run it through the other direction. Have you worked with any of the schools on anything like that, rearranging their car lines?
We have a traffic engineer who works with the schools to create new traffic plans, but I'm not directly involved in that.
Okay. So who's that up to? Is it up to the
That would be-
principal of every school, or?
Right now, it's primarily just been whoever can bring like a traffic issue up to us. But I can give you like an NDOT representative name if you're aware of at least like one school that you'd want to lead.
I'm not sure I want them, I don't want to bother them because they've got enough to deal with at that particular school. Well, I'm sure it's true at every school. You know, that's a challenge, I'm sure, for any principal who's probably overworked anyway.
Any other questions?
All right, thanks, Belle. All right, any updates from Brent?
Just a couple things. I got an email from somebody, just to remind you to hit your push your button and make sure your microphone's green, because people can't hear you out in TV land. So please make sure you got a green light. Secondly, I've got a request in for the 3 vacant positions, so hopefully we can get those filled. And that's it for me.
Could I also ask for the next agenda, have an update on the negotiations about the bike share, the station-based bike share, which have been going on for over a year?
I'd also suggest if you've got any other items, maybe send them to Catherine. We
Yeah.
talk tomorrow and start pulling together the agenda for the next meeting. Send it to her. If you can get it to her before 12, that'd be awesome.
Well, I'm going to throw mine in now because I don't know that I'll remember
now.
to do that. So in 2014, there was a council resolution passed about including bike parking in redevelopment or development of commercial facilities. And I would be very curious to run down what end-of-trip facilities there are based on that. That was, 11 years ago at this point, and I've seen some reconstructed buildings, new buildings designed, and I've seen, I believe the word is a bupkis for bike parking. So I would be, like I said, interested in getting a review on that. That doesn't necessarily have to be for next meeting, but to keep it in mind in the next couple of meetings.
Would that come from planning department? Is that who you're asking?
It's a great question. James Guthrie, do you have any idea? Would planning be in charge of knowing where bike parking facilities would be, or would codes have been like following up on those plans? And then essentially trying to have like a document going forward of, how do you keep up with making sure that people and developers are doing what they say they're supposed to do?
And one other thing, if you remember back in the spring, I guess it was, we had a complaint about several issues with greenways where they came out onto streets, including a blockage up at Cumberland River Greenway in Germantown. And I have interfaced with people from NDOT several times without success to get them to fix it. Could you check on that? Yeah.
Let me talk to Ann.
Yeah, he's the one who said we didn't want to make car drivers mad, and apparently he hasn't, because nothing's been changed. So.
All right, any other agenda items for next meeting? I think we had talked about having the Choose How You Move team come give us a presentation if they're ready to next month. Okay. All right,
Move we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.